Hey everyone, welcome to another sit down with Michael Franzese. Hope everybody is doing well. And today I got a special guest that we're going to have a sit down with. Now remember, I don't interview people, I have a sit down with them and we kind of do a conversation back and forth. And by the way, got to thank you all for tuning in for the Donnie Brasco, Joe Pistone interview. The comments have been great. People are really enjoying it, and I thank you very much. I always say this. Really appreciate you tuning into my channel because there's so much content on YouTube that you can turn into, and I really appreciate that you're tuning into mine. And again, remember the big giveaway. When we hit 500,000, we're getting close. I think we're at 460,000 now. When we hit 500,000 subscribers, a big giveaway. Now, the number one prize, I can't reveal it yet, but I will tell you this. It has to do with slices. My pizza place, and I will tell you this right now, all the slices are in California, so that's a hint. So that's going to be the first prize. I'm not going to tell you the rest of it, and we're going to do a lot of things in the giveaway. So when we hit 500,000, which at the pace that it's going, it's probably going to be another month or so. Subscribe right now. I think you'll enjoy the content. That's most important. But we do these giveaways because we appreciate you tuning in very, very much. We really do. You know, it's humbling in a way because, like I said, you have so many choices. The fact that you choose mine is just wonderful, and I really appreciate it. We're going to show our appreciation. MichaelFranzese.com. The crew is growing. Over 13,000 crew members right now, encouraging one another. We're putting so much content in there. You know, join up, man. It's free. You're not going to have to pay anything. There are upper levels. If you want more of me, you know, you'll be introduced to that. You can make a choice at that point in time. But it's really growing. And during this pandemic especially, it's been wonderful for people because they've been encouraging one another. We've been praying for people that have gotten COVID in there, and, you know, we pray for them. People get together. It's just wonderful. Join the crew, okay? Be part of the crew. So let me give you a little background on Tyrus. I became a follower of him because I saw him on the Greg Gutfield show, and that's a Fox show for those of you that don't know it. It's a nighttime show, and I just like Tyrus because no BS about him. You know, he gives his views, he says what's on his mind. I like the way he delivers it, and I agree with a lot of things that he's saying. So when I, reached out to him to come on for a sit down with me, he was really open to it. We had a really good time, and we got some things in common. You know, I'll just tell you, his mom was 15 years old when Tyrus was born. My mom was 16. She got pregnant at 15, and she was 16 when I was born. So we had young moms. Our moms were kind of tough on us, you know. Our fathers were a little bit different. You know, I told Tyrus a story. You know, my dad hit me one time. My mom, forget it. Back in that day, you know, she was rough. My mom was the one that made me tough. She taught me how to take a punch. Wasn't my father, I'll be honest with you. And Tyrus kind of went through the same thing, you know. So you couldn't do that today. Forget about it. You know, it was different back in the 50s and the 70s when he was growing up. Today you can't do any of that stuff, but I love my mom for, you know, the way she raised me. She was difficult, but, it was important the way she brought me up, and Tyrus has the same kind of view. So we've got kind of some things in common that we're going to talk about, and I think you're going to enjoy it and enjoy his point of view. So let's get into it. For those of you who don't know who Tyrus is, he's had a tremendous career. He is a co-host now of the Greg Gutfield show. It's a Fox News show, and his delivery is great on there. He's one of the co-hosts, and he's terrific, and that's where he caught my eye. But he was originally born, his name was George Murdoch, and he wrestled in the WWE under the name Brodus Clay, and then he got to Total Nonstop Action where he was called Tyrus. That's how he got the name Tyrus, and it stuck, it seems, you know. But he's done a lot of television. He's been in movies. He's bigger than life. He's 6'8", I think. think 400 pounds, so he's a big guy. But I just liked him for, his political views. I mean, he's very direct in his responses. There's no BS about him. He's very, very real. We have some similarities in our background, which I'll get into. His dad was African American. His mom was white, so he had to grow up in, a little bit of a controversy, I would say, back then in the 70s. But, he's made something of himself. Here's a guy that he used his size to his advantage, his personality to his advantage. He was recognized by the WWE in kind of a Hollywood story. He was in a club doing his thing, 6'8", impressive guy, 400 pounds. Somebody from the WWE walked in and seen him, see how he handled something. He's going to tell the story. I don't want to give it away, what they noticed about him that night. Really funny, cute story, I would say. And, his career started in that regard. He got a tryout with the WWE, and then it just took off. So, I always love stories where somebody came from, a little bit of a tough background, a struggle, a challenge, and made something out of himself. And Tyrus certainly did that, and I have a lot of respect for him in that regard. So, having said that, Tyrus, welcome. I know you're sitting at home in Louisiana, and I'm over here in Orange County, Newport Beach area, but great to see you. I wish I could have had you in the studio, but hey, we'll do it this way on Zoom. So, welcome to the Sit Down with Michael Franzese.
What's up, sir? How are you?
I'm very, very good. How about you?
Maintaining, man. Head above water.
That's good. Where are you?
I'm in Louisiana right now. Hammond, to be exact.
Okay. You're coming out to LA anytime soon?
I'm literally just kind of waiting for them to figure it out there. I grew up in LA, and every time I go out there, it breaks my heart. So I'm just kind of waiting till they get things cleaned up out there a little bit before. Because whenever I go back, I got to bring the fam, and it's always it's a whole process, and they're still tripping over hotels and stuff out there. So we'll just wait it out.
Well, let me tell you, the next time you come out here, I'm going to treat you to some of the best pizza you ever ate, without a doubt.
Now, I gotta be fair now. I've had some good pizza places in my days. In Boston, it was Benny's Pizza. And then, of course, there's this little spot in Pasadena called Dominic's Pizza. And they were out of New York because I was a Celtic fan as a kid, and they were all Knicks fans. But they had some of the best mom and pop. They were direct from Sicily. As a matter of fact, the head chef didn't speak a lick of English. Everyone interpreted for him, which was also good when you had a problem with the bill. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I heard about Dominic's because a friend of mine, actually, he was a former FBI agent, but he's a friend. He lives up in Pasadena. He's a pizza connoisseur, and he was always telling me about Dominic's. Never ate there. But
Best pizza. And it wasn't just that, because you were part of the family. Like I remember having a bad report card getting smacked on the side of the head by Flo, the waitress. She's like, your mother tells me you're not doing your math. You want to wash dishes in the back for the rest of your life? Like it was, it was a big thing. It was back when it was a village that raised the kid, Nowadays, Flo would have been arrested, for,
exactly.
hurting my growth. But I remember the lesson to this day. So.
Well, I know that. My mother would have been in jail if it was today. Forget about it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Bro, when I hear, and I got kids now, and they don't know how lucky they are. I've never once told them, go get me a Switch.
Right.
I never just looked around for what's in the house to whoop you with, especially when getting whooped by your mom was always worse because a woman had to do more. Like a man would grab you, you get 5 whacks, and you man it up and, pull yourself up afterwards, and then you guys would go forward. But when your mom whooped you, it was just a tornado, because she's trying to teach a boy to be a man. So she's, and your dad's a bad reference. So, I'm saying you're going to get it for his mistakes. But of course, different time.
I got to tell you this, my dad, who had a very heavy hand, he was once a fighter, amateur fighter. He hit me one time in the back of the neck. He used to make us walk past him, and then boom, he'd hit you on the back of the neck, and you felt it. But I got it one time from him. My mother, forget about it, Tyrus.
Yeah.
Pick up anything. She hit me with a guitar one time, broke it over my back, a spoon, everything. I mean, she loved me.
A wooden spoon? Oh, I have retired enough wooden spoons in my day, because unfortunately I was one of those kids where timeout or grounding, all that was doing was I was plotting what I did wrong and trying to figure out how I could do to be a bit. Like the only thing that would affect me a little bit was solitary confinement. But when you're locked up in your room and your friends are playing outside and you're looking through the window. But again, today that would be depraved indifference, torment. She was tormenting me, trying to keep me in line. But yeah, I would. If you asked me when I was a kid who would just take a whooping from a man or woman, man, because at least there's and that's the same thing with fighting though. Like guys, we have a code. Men, we have a code. We don't pull hair. We don't kick unless we let you know ahead of time. I know karate. You know what you're up against. When a woman's going wild on you, shoes, faces, there's no rules,
Well, I can see it is, but I don't know how big you were as a kid, but I can see a lot of broken things getting beat up. If you're getting hit with it, it's getting broke.
Oh yeah. The worst thing ever is when the wooden spoon would break, because then you got whooped with a wooden spoon. Then she would find something else, So yeah, I got, plus this mouth of mine, this smart mouth of mine was developed over many years of many, many spankings, because I just didn't know, had that last word disease, which is not good when you're a kid. I would always, my mom would say something and I had to say the last word.
Well, let me tell you, I'm really excited about having you on because number one, politically, we agree just about everything. I love the Greg Gutfield show. And my wife's a big fan of yours also. I mean, we love everything about it. So we agree a lot politically. We got some things in common. One thing we don't agree on, though, I'm going to tell you right now, you're a Celtic fan?
All day.
All right. I'm a Knicks fan. Are you a Red Sox fan?
Die hard.
Oh, I'm a diehard Yankee fan. Now, you're a lot bigger than me, so I have to bring a gun if we're ever going to fight, but that ain't going to happen. But
I will heckle. Here's the deal. I have respect for my rivals. Like when I was Snoop's bodyguard, he was a Laker fan. Now, I would never put on a yellow nothing because that's not what I'm about. And I wouldn't change my team affiliations just for a job. Maybe I'm just, dumb that way. But you can have a certain respect. And because our teams are going in two different directions right now, you guys are loaded. You guys look good. And I gotta give credit where credit's due. Whereas, we got a little blemish. We kind of cheated to win a World Series, and and we're just not going anywhere. Like I'm looking at, everyone's leaving town. We lost Bettis. I was like, what are we doing? The only thing that was good is we didn't lose them to you guys, because that's the only thing I can't stand. Ellsbury and you, when they jump ship to the Stripes, traitors. Like I want then every other stuff burned in Boston. You don't go from
that had to hurt. But I'll tell you a quick story. I got actually drafted out of prison by Major League Baseball to speak to the athletes about gambling and relationships and all of that. So I was doing spring training a lot, speaking to all of them. When I go into the Red Sox camp, I said, you know what? I told the head of security, I don't want to like these guys. They're my enemies from my whole life. So I go in there, and I got to tell you, they were the greatest bunch of guys. Big Pappy, I must have spoke to him for an hour. He was telling me what a badass he was, back in his hometown. I love Francona. He became one of my favorite guys. I love the whole team. So when you're sitting in the locker room with them, you love the guys. So from that point on, it was hard to root against them.
That's the worst thing is when you meet the other guys. It's you meet the enemy, and they're decent guys. But at the end of the day, there's nothing worse for a Yankee fan to get beat by the Red Sox. But it's been one-sided. I mean, you guys were beating us up for decades.
Yes.
So it's just recent. And then of course you guys are loaded this year. And it's, it's nice to talk about baseball again, isn't it?
Oh, it really is, man. I can't wait. I'm so excited. Every time the season starts, man, I can't wait. Over here, it's 4:00. I got my phone, MLB on the phone, and I'm watching the Yankee game. That's how it goes.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the Red Sox. So what usually happens is I can tell how our season's going to go opening day. If we win opening day, season's over. We're done. I already know it. And we'll win by 12 runs, and I'll be like, the Red Sox, and then we'll get swept the rest of the series, and it'll be all downhill from there. So I am the only guy who roots against my team on opening day. For the love of God, please don't win. Do not win. Because we don't know what to do with it.
We got those sides. All right, let me ask you, how much time do you have, first of all?
I got all the time you need, sir.
Excellent. Okay, let me tell you how this is. I don't really interview you. This is called a sit-down, meaning that, you got something you want to ask me. I don't know if you ever had any mob questions. You ever got involved with them in any which way? I mean, if you grew up in Boston, you might have had a little bit of a touch of it. Or you grew up in LA, but if you were in Boston at all, you might have had a little touch.
Yeah, I was in Lynn, City of Sin. Don't come out the way you come in. So, my father's family, they didn't get past the bar on the corner. So that's about as far as their world went. It was from their house to the bar on the corner. So they wanted to be big shots, but they weren't,
All right. But I got it. But like I said, anything you got any questions for me? Any curious? You can, share ideas, fire away. That's okay. And we just have some fun with it. But
Cool.
I got to say, I really, really do enjoy the Gutfield show. Enjoy your responses. You're very witty and you're on point. And I love that. We love the show. So.
Well, my perspective has always been, I can only talk about, and I think you will get this better than anyone. I only speak about what I've known and what I've gone through. I don't talk just to talk. And if I don't know about something, I got no problem saying I don't know about it. I don't know how that affects me. Because your word is your bond, and if you're full of shit, people see it real quick, because we got people who just like to talk, one of the things I'll do is when something first hits me, like if a reaction to something happens, I don't open my mouth when something happens. I always kind of wait and see, because as we a lot of times the headlines aren't the real story. And people that's the one thing I noticed today, everyone jumps to conclusions. And those of us who actually participate in life, in ups and downs and good and bad or whatever, we know it's not usually the way. The truth is usually somewhere in the middle, so I try to just stick that way.
Well, especially lately, Tyrus, man, you can't believe anything that's in the news. It's so hard. I tell you, I have a kind of a grim view of things, that are going on now in our government and our newscasting and all that. It's tough, man. It really is.
Well, what it is we don't have newscasting anymore. Let's be frank. We have a bunch of opinionists out there who say they're a news anchor. Like, it used to be, you never knew what Walter Cronkite's opinion was on a situation, because he was there to bring you the news and you draw your own conclusions, and he was not going to sway you one way or the other. I guess, and I guess if we break it down in mob terms, he was a conciliary. He just tells you exactly what happened. This is the situation. How you react to it is on you, but and you don't pay him to bullshit you and sugarcoat it or tell you, well, this is what happened to me. And basically, I make a good living working on Fox, but basically, we now have so many panels of people telling you what they saw, and you saw the same thing. I don't need you to tell me that I saw a bird land in the pond. I know that. But then they're like, well, the bird landed in the pond, but what you didn't know is the pond was owned by this evil President Trump. It's like they put their spin on shit instead of just reporting the news, and then they call themselves an anchor man or person or woman because they're outraged, and that's why they have to speak out, because they're speaking out for the people. No, you're speaking out for yourself. We become very selfish, and especially in the media, because it's about ratings now. It's about profit.
No, you're right. They don't report the news anymore. It's all op-eds, and it's all, fulfilling their own agenda, whatever their circumstances. It's terrible.
They're trying to make money. They're hustling.
That's all it is. But you know what? I got to say, and I don't say this for any other reason other than the fact that it's true. Fox News, for the most part, reports the news. I mean, at least that's how I see it.
Well, you know the difference.
Yeah.
You know the difference between who's an opinion host and who's a news anchor, because there's a difference.
Yeah.
And you can't. The lines are pretty blurry on other networks, because someone giving whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. You're reporting a man's arrested who killed a bunch of children. Yeah, of course we think the guy's scum or whatever, but it's not for the reporter to tell us his personal feeling on this guy. He just gives us the information, and we'll draw our own conclusions at the end of it. Because sometimes it's not always what we think it is. But we don't get that. And then you got to pick a side. You know what I'm saying? And then I just won't do that.
Yeah, many of you have asked me, what my position was on abortion, whether I'm pro-life or pro-choice. And, I go back to my own personal situation. My mom was 15 when she got pregnant. She wasn't married. And she was 16 when I was born. And back in the 50s, if you lived in an Italian neighborhood like I did in Brooklyn, I was born in Brooklyn, you didn't have a child out of wedlock, and my grandparents were very embarrassed by it, and they wanted my mom to have an abortion. And she refused. She wouldn't do it. She wouldn't abort me. And here I am. And my legacy, is I'm here, and I have 7 children, and I have grandchildren. So had my mom made that decision, I wouldn't be here. So I am pro-life in that regard. I'm also a Christian, so obviously I'm pro-life. pro-life, but, I do believe there are certain circumstances where, if the mom's life is in jeopardy, and sometimes in a rape situation, it's kind of a tough area for me. And I'll be honest with you, the one thing I don't like the government interfering in a woman's, life. I really don't. So it is kind of a gray area for me in some way. Again, I am pro-life, but I think there are circumstances where, obviously, if the mom's life was in jeopardy or there could be a rape situation. I mean, those are tough things to think about. And I don't like the government interfering in a woman's personal body. I don't like that. So it's kind of a gray area for me, even though I do consider myself pro-life. And I hope you can understand that. And I'm not meaning this to be political in any ways. I'm not trying to cause controversy. I'm just giving you my personal thought. And Tyrus and I kind of agree on that. We spoke about that because he grew up, he was born under the same circumstances. His mom was 15 years old. So we had a lot in common like that, and he'll tell you about it. Well, let me tell you this. I got a lot of respect for you, looked up, a little bit about your background, your life's the whole thing. We have some similarities, I got to tell you. Your mom, I think you were born, your mom was 15 years old?
Yep.
Yeah, my mom was 15 when she got pregnant. She was 16 when I was born.
Yeah, same with mine, same time.
Yeah, and it came out of a rough beginning. I got to say this. I'm going to throw this in now. I am pro-life, and the reason I'm pro-life is because back in the 50s when I was born, my mom wasn't married yet. I was born out of wedlock, and you didn't do that, especially growing up in Brooklyn in an Italian neighborhood. And my grandparents, they wanted her to abort me. And she wouldn't do it. Even at 15, 16 years old, she refused, and here I am. Had she aborted me, I wouldn't be here. And my whole legacy would be done. So, I became pro-life just in that regard alone. And of course, I got 7 kids of my own, and that's how I came upon this field. I'm a Christian also, but for me, it goes way back.
I would say that I'm pro-life as well, but I have a caveat. I want fair. And I think a lot of the situations that we've had in this country with the way we do things, especially concerned with like dad's rights and men, a woman has a right to do it. I have no issue. I have no fight. I don't want to get involved with what a woman chooses to do with her body. But I do think that men need to have similar rights. And people always think I'm joking, but I'm saying that we should have the right to abort financial responsibility. Because I would guarantee you, and not all women, and let me just put this out there, but there is a certain population that literally look at having babies as a professional job. Like they go out and they trap or whatever. It's a real thing. And then if men had the ability, especially successful men had the ability to say that, I'm not going to be financially responsible for this child. You get to choose whether you keep it or not, which means I am basically at your whim of what you decide to do. If a man was able to decide whether he was going to have financial responsibility or not, it would have the same rights as the woman does in terms of what goes on with the child. I think we would see a lot more responsibility in terms of a certain sect where they would look at, it's not just a payday. It's not just because men, we don't have a lot of rights in the thing. And then when you get into the thing where you're fighting for the rights, it's a woman's body. So I just think if they have the right to terminate, then we at least have the right to abandon. You know what I'm saying? And Chappelle talks about it, but it's the same thing. We always talk about equality, but it's scathed or whatever. I think we need to look at what we're doing for young women who are in situations or whatever. And it seems like it shouldn't just be one or the other. You know what I'm saying? I agree. Guys like you and me, my mother was in the same situation. Get an abortion, move back home. You can be safe, have a child, be on your own. Right. And, she made that choice, and I'm here today. So I thank her for that. It's one of those things where I think as a man, you can never say the right thing in this situation. And if you're pro-choice, it doesn't mean you're insensitive to a woman's right to her body. It's just that we think that there's worse things that happens in this world than getting pregnant. But there's always going to be a yin to the yang, and it's this sticky thing. And I really think it's a lot bigger issue than it needs to be, because we get so much caught up in arguing over that we let them slip by the little things that are really important, like tax hikes and loopholes, and what I'm saying, and we're fighting over feelings of religion and what's right when we're not looking at what our legislation is doing. Like it's one of those things that it's an argument. You can't change somebody's mind when it has to do with their spirit and their religion and what they believe. You just can't do it.
You know, I've told many of you that I have concerns about the direction that our country is going in. I worry about the future, for my kids and my grandkids, and I really mean that. This is not the America that I grew up in, and I see it going in the wrong direction. You all know that I'm writing a book. It's called The Mafia Democracy. It'll be out over the summer, and unfortunately, I'm going to point out some very real similarities in how the government is operating today and how the mob operated during my day. The ideology that the government is operating under now is very Machiavellian, and that's not good for the country. Not good for the country. And I'm going to point this out. Why? Just to make you aware of it. Again, I have some really deep concerns. Tyrus and I think we share some of those same concerns. He's going to tell you about it. But people, you know, it's time to wake up. This is not a socialist country. We don't want to be a socialist country. We want to be a republic. We want to be free. Yes, we want to treat people fairly across the board as best as we can, but we got to keep it as it is. We don't want to be under this progressive agenda, people. It's dangerous. You know, I always say this. I want less government intrusion on my life. I do. I don't want the government interfering in my life. Our forefathers wanted a limited government. Why? Because they had just revolted against a very obtrusive government. You know, that was the model that they tried to create, you know, constitutionally back then. And I think our government has grown to a behemoth now. They're intruding in every part of our lives, and that's not something that we want. You don't want the mafia running the country. No, you want a proper government, you know, running the country according to the way our forefathers founded it. And it's written in our Constitution. That's what you want. We don't want all of these changes that are just going to interfere in our lives. And I think Tyrus has the same point of view, and he'll tell you about it. No, I agree. And, you know, for me, even though I am pro-life myself, it's a bit of a gray area, because I'll tell you where I have a problem, Tyrus. I like limited government, and I don't like the government telling a woman what she can do with her body. It's kind of a gray area with me.
Yeah.
Everything that's moral doesn't mean that it has to be legislated, you know? That's my problem with it, and so it's a bit of a gray area. But myself personally, I'm pro-life, but I don't like the government interfering in a lot of things in our life, and that's one of them. So it's a tough situation.
They manage, and they always overcharge the taxpayer.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be helping. Just like this, it was a $1.9 trillion relief fund, and then you actually break down the bill.
Yeah, it's
the money's everywhere else, but where it's supposed to go.
Exactly, which is, I don't want to get into the hypocrisy. I'm actually writing a book. It's called A Mafia Democracy. And what I'm trying to do is I'm going to expose the ideology of our government today and show you how mob-like it is, how Machiavellian it is in the way they're running the government. And book will be out in the summer, and I think you'll enjoy it. You'll get an autographed copy.
Love a good read, so I'm all about it, because it's funny, you know, the whole, as a wise guy, mob boss, you ran a business, and you ran it well, but it was in direct competition with the government. They want the same things.
Right. You
guys were basically police for the city. You know what I'm saying? They came to you when somebody had a problem. You settled disputes. You provided protection. You know, and then of course, depending on which movie you watch, and then they add all the extras to it. And there's an ugly side of it, but we have the same thing in our government, and our ugly side is pretty bad too. It's just that we never really talk about it. You always just kind of point the finger, you know. But yeah, 100%. There's no difference. You guys are honest about what you're doing. That's the difference. You're honest even when you lie.
Hey, listen, we were who we were. We didn't claim to be anybody else, and that's what we did, you know. But I got to go back a little bit. I have a lot of respect for you, because I see you came out of a pretty tough lifestyle, and you really made something out of yourself. How did you get involved in wrestling? I mean, was it just your size? Is this something you wanted to do, or how did this come about?
Well, I watched wrestling my entire life. Dusty Rhodes was one of my favorite wrestlers. I wasn't a big Hulk Hogan guy. I always liked the bad guys.
Really?
I liked the Heenan family. I like the guys who the people booed. Something about it just, you know, they just kind of did their own thing. So I like those guys. But so I was a fan of it. I grew up watching it. Basically, what ended up happening is I was running clubs in LA, and I had a crew. We had a crew, and we were you couldn't be in our crew unless you were 6'4", 300. So, and our average, our shortest guy was like 6'4", 6'5", and our tallest guy was 7 feet, and it was about 8 of us.
So I wouldn't have made it then. I wouldn't have made it. I'm only 5'10".
You know what? We made exceptions because you know what? We realized that, and I realized this, and one of the reasons why I was so successful was that big guys only see things a certain way. Mm-hmm. You need a guy that they don't see coming. You need a guy that has a different perspective. So it's not about, then this is the lesson I learned in a few brawls. Doesn't matter how big the tree is. It's what kind of bark is on the inside.
Well, I got
Tyrus. 6'8" cowards run the other way.
Yes.
And, one of my lifelong buddies to this day, Rico, he's literally, I think on a good day, he's a little taller than Joe Pesci, but he was the most ferocious guy I ever worked with. And here was the thing. They never saw him coming. So when I'm dealing with a fight and I got two guys squaring up on me, my buddy comes around the side, casual, just a little guy, but he put the rear naked on you, you going to sleep. He was one of the, never back down from a fight. He was like a pit bull. So once I realized that, it was the guy, we had our big guys, everyone saw, everyone focused on us. But the guys you had to worry about was the guys you didn't see, or when you did see them, it was your ass. It was too late. And fighting was always something like growing up in Boston and being light-skinned, I was getting on both sides, and the only thing that kept me from not being bruised up was I was good with my hands. That was the only thing I got from my biological father was he was showing me how to fight at a young age. But, of course, he fought women and shit. So, fuck that guy. But his ferociousness and punch first, and you don't stop till you finish a guy off. When you're from Boston and you go to LA, the city of sun, and they say things like, dude, throw the first punch. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Why? Whop. And there's not going to, so we dealt with a lot of stuff. And Saddle Ranch was this chop house, great restaurant. The owner, Larry Pollock, is big. Everyone from the Valley, we had everybody coming in. Of course, when you got everybody coming in from different parts of LA's, you got the Vatos, you got 18th Street, then you got some of you got the Bloods and Crips, and then you just got other people, and then you got Mexican Mafia. So you got all these different groups coming in to party and drinks. And it's all love from about 8 o'clock to around 10. But then 11 o'clock to 1 a.m. is the witching hour. That's when guys get cocky. That's when all of a sudden the other dude's girlfriend gets prettier, and then you start having stuff go off. So I had a reputation for ending it quickly. Mm-hmm. And one night, lo and behold, Tommy Dreamer is in WrestleMania is in LA, and I'm sitting in the line and I'm watching the line. I kind of do a walkthrough, and I see Tommy Dreamer standing in line with a couple of wrestler guys that were new. I had seen him a couple times, but I was like, "Oh, Tommy Dreamer! Hey, man, big fan, man. You coming in tonight?" And of course, he's coming in. He's standing in line, but I say, "Hey, come with me. You don't wait in line. I'm a fan." And appreciate your work and who you got with you. So I bring him in. I said, make him a special table. They get the whole full regalia. He gets bottle on me, table service on the stage. So they can see all the girls dancing and all the people partying and stuff. So he's in a VIP setting. Everyone else is paying $5,000 to sit on the stage, but I'm taking care of him. So he's having a good time. He seems like a regular guy and chilling. And I'm talking to him and I'm looking over the crowd. And I'm in the middle of the dance floor. I see girls are dancing and whoop, one disappears, just gone. Then she comes back up, her hair's messed up, and she's mad as hell. I'm like, what the? And we don't wear headsets because we're all tall, we see each other. Right. So we figured, and that's how you make sure someone's doing their job and not talking to women. Because if something pops off and you don't see it, I can't use you. Right. Because anyone can hear on the radio, look up and go, huh. So if you're doing your job, your eyes should always be on watching your homeboy's back. Right. Because if you're not there in a fight for your boy, if you don't have his six, in a brawl in a crowd, your boy could get hurt. And you don't want, because once you get a reputation as a guy who's not there, you can't work in the bodyguard game anymore because no one will work with you. So I see another girl disappear in the crowd. I said, excuse me, Tommy, let me see what the hell's going on. I hop down and walk. The other guys are coming. I'm like, I got it. I push him back. I got it. Walk through, I see the ladies. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, someone's grabbing me and pulling me down. I was like, grabbing you? So I'm looking around. Everyone's dancing. I don't see anything. And then about 5 feet from me, I see another girl. Whoop. I'm like, damn. Oh, so I moved through. Turn and look, there's these two midgets. These two midgets, dwarfs, or whatever you want to call them, small people. And they had too much to drink, and they were mad because the girls weren't dancing with them. So these two guys, they'd see a girl, and then one would pinch her on the butt, she'd turn around, and the other guy would pull her arm down. And they were like messing around. I said, hey, fellas. And I leaned down to them, and this is maybe where I made a mistake. I leaned down, I put my hands on the chest, pulled them apart from each other, and I said, hey, fellas, listen. I don't want to kick nobody out tonight. Whatever you're doing, cut it out. Y'all have a good night. You go this way, you go that way, and we'll, it's all good. While I'm telling them this, one of them hits me, punched me right in the chest.
How could he reach you?
And when he hit me, it was like,
Did he have to jump up to reach you?
yeah, because I kneeled down to him. Like, hey, break up, fellas. And I'm like, hey,
Gotcha.
hands are on my knees talking to him. Because I'm 6'8", I'm a giant and freak, Sasquatch, whatever the hell you want to call me. And so dude hits me. And I mean, it was horrible. I mean, I'm telling you, horrible. I mean, I couldn't even believe it. I just said, did you just hit me? And while I said that, the other one takes a shot. And he swings and misses. He like scrapes my beard and like kind of, I'm like, I look up, everyone's seen. And they're like, oh, damn. So now I got to do something. My rep's on the line. So I do the only responsible thing that I can think of. And I figured if these two would just get together, they'd probably calm down. So while I was bringing them together, apparently a little head bumped together. And the two of them took a little thing on the ground. And then I was like, oh, fellas, looks like you guys let me help y'all out. So then I grabbed them by their belt buckles and picked them up and carried them like suitcases out and threw them out. And I said, have a good night, fellas. Sorry, tonight you had to have a short night. And then everyone laughed and I started walking back. And Tommy Dreamer's eyes were looking at me. He's seen the whole thing. I was like, hey, man, sorry about that. He's like, oh, man, I have never seen no shit like that before. You make jokes while you throw people out? I was like, yeah, why not? It wasn't like it was a big fight or something. Like, I'm embarrassed. Y'all had to see that. It wasn't this great battle.
Yeah, I had to give those two guys credit to take a swing at you, though, right?
Yeah, because there's no lose for them.
Right.
Here's a small man, big guy. You take a swing and the big guy knocks you out. You're
done.
David. You had courage. Like, look at this guy. He's not afraid of a challenge. And then if you hit lightning in a bottle, catch me on the chin, and I go down, you're king for the day.
Absolutely.
No songs written about you.
Absolutely.
Girls, no tattoos of you on your arm, like the Giant Slayer. Right. And then my career is ruined. I have to go leave the country in shame because I think I got knocked out by a little guy. See, it's a lot of pressure for us on the line. So he's like, yeah, man, you need to be doing that on TV. And I was like, yeah, or whatever, man. And he's like, no, I'm the head of talent for the WWE. Like, I'd like to, maybe offer you a job or something. I said, I'll tell you what, man, I'll give you a job. How about that?
Did you know who he was, or you thought he was kidding?
Tommy? Oh, yeah, I knew Tommy.
You knew who he was.
And as a fan, Tommy is a stand-up guy, good friend to this day. He was like, yeah, man, I'll give you a call in a couple of weeks. But he ended up, this is how cool this dude is. He finished the shift working security with us. We're throwing guys out in the night. And one guy, oh, man, somebody pissed me off. And dude said something dumb. I turned and said, what'd you say, man? Because he was like, we're telling him to leave. And his credit card was denied or some, he trying to impress his girl and his insufficient funds, one of them guys. And he needed another form of payment. Right. So, I made him pull out his other card and pay for it. He's like, this is bullshit. That card's good. I'm like, whatever, man. It's been declined. And every machine here works fine. So the guy was like, he said something out the side of his mouth. I was like, what'd you say? And I started going towards him. He runs to Tommy Dreamer, and Tommy Dreamer, he literally jumps. I'm not like a bride. He jumps in Tommy Dreamer's arms. And then Tommy was like, I got it. And he's holding this guy. And the guy's like, he's trying to kill me. And Tommy carries him. He's like, where are your parts? I'm like, get out of here. And Tommy carries this guy 2 football fields to the parking lot.
Uh-huh.
And I'm walking behind him like, just put him down, dog. Just put him down. And he was like, no, I got it. And he carries this guy. So one, he's strong as hell. Carries the guy, puts him in the car. And he's all right, man, what do you got for me to do next? And I'm looking at him like, man, you're all right, dude, man. And after that, a couple months went by, and then I get a call from him. I had actually forgot about it. And he had called me up and said, hey, man, they want to bring you in for a workout. And I was like, all right, cool. So I went down to McDonough, Georgia, and I worked out for Bill DeMond and John Laurinaitis. They said, hey, lose 50 pounds and we'll give you a deal. And then that was that.
Oh, so you had to lose 50 pounds.
You had to lose 50 pounds. Here's the thing about working clubs, man, and working with other big guys. The one thing about The Sopranos that I always enjoyed and laughed at was like, there was a lot of fat guys in there who didn't think they were fat, and I really relate because I was a fat guy who but I had muscles on my shoulders. So from here up, I looked phenomenal. So that's what I focused on, and I would say things like, I'm in my frame, I'm within my shoulders.
How much did you weigh?
I was a biscuit away from probably 400 at that time. I was about 405 pounds at that time.
Damn.
And, but I had hung around with a bunch of other guys who were 6'6", 6'8", and like with 2 of them, Big Keys was 6'9", 500, and Big Tiny was 7 feet, and he was like a biscuit away from 500 at the time. And so we were all just bunch of, well, for lack of a better, we're all a bunch of fat fucks who sit around and eat together, go to work. But because we're all together, no one notices how fat we are or how fat we're getting, because we're like a herd, just, and because we all fit within our frames.
You know what? I got to tell you something. I had a guy around me. I don't know if you know anything about my background, but I was in the gas business, and we were actually stealing taxes. We were defrauding the government. But my partner, one of the guys who devised the scheme with me, this guy Larry Iorizzo, he was about 6'6", and he weighed almost 500 pounds. But I tell people, he wasn't a sloppy fat. He was like, he was solid, I mean, the guy was strong as hell, too. I mean, he didn't work out or anything like that. All he did was spend money and make money. But he was a solid fat guy. He never really thought he was fat.
No, we never do. We never do. It's not until you have a fight with your wife one night when she decides to tell you, you know what it's like being with a chubby panda in bed? And you're like, what are you talking about? Me? And that's when you all of a sudden realize, yeah, my belly is a little big. And I didn't realize that I'm wearing 5X shirts. Because I'm always complaining how the laundry's shrinking my shirt. It ain't the laundry, dear. But I'll change the detergent immediately. I'll get on that.
Yeah, one of the things that, I found very interesting with Tyrus, and something that we both have in common, is that his wife, Ingrid Rink, I think her name is, she's a personal fitness trainer, and she's a founder of a company called Sensible Meals. She puts these meal plans together. And my wife and my daughters are all into fitness. As a matter of fact, I call them Franzese fitness freaks. You've seen some interviews with my daughters. They're all into fitness. 2 of my daughters are personal trainers, and they're all in great shape. And my wife's been in great shape since I met her when she was 20 years old. It's just part of their routine, their lifestyle. And Tyrus' wife, Ingrid, is kind of the same way. She created a company, Sensible Meals, where she puts meal plans together, and she's transforming lives as a result. She transformed, in a way, Tyrus' life. I mean, I think he lost 125 pounds that he needed to lose, based upon, following his wife's meal program and regime and fitness and training and all of this. We have a lot in common in that regard, because in my house, they're always trying to get me to be physically fit, and I'm Italian. I love to eat. I eat anything that I could get my hands on that I enjoy, and they're more practical about it, and they watch what they eat, and they try to keep me healthy and so on and so forth. So it's really interesting. Tyrus will tell you about it. So let me ask you, how'd you lose the weight? How many pounds you have to lose?
I lose 50 pounds. And here's the thing about me. One thing is, like, I go through, if I am focused on something, I have no problem getting it. My problem is once I reach the goal, I tend to relax. Like I get there and I'm like, I can turn on whatever I want to. Right. That's my problem. That's my hiccup. So you put a contract in front of me, I'm going to be in that gym 8 hours a day, and I'm going to eat 1,500 calories a day. And that's and I was training with my buddy Rico, who's now he's like my guru, and he's a small guy, and he's all about diet and training and stuff. So we're just going. So I melted off pretty quick. Here's the thing. If you burn, there's no magic pill for weight loss. The only thing that happens is you got to burn more than you bring in. You burn more than you bring in, you'll lose weight. That's it. And it's funny because my wife ended up starting a meal prep company. And it was because my stepson's a type 1 diabetic, and we had to change the way he eats. So she starts this company with the idea of trying to help out families of type 1 diabetes and moms who work a lot. No advertising, small ball. And as a matter of fact, I even thought it was a waste of time. It was a pain in the ass to me because she kept asking me to carry bags of food over to the thing and this, that way. I don't want to be bothered with this shit. There's nothing in it. There's no money in this. And we ended up splitting up for a while. So about 5 months, we're about to split up. I moved back to Florida, whatever. She's doing her thing. And then we have a daughter together. So we're fighting back and forth over when I can see my daughter, all that stuff. Because instead of dealing with our own issues, we bring the kids in it because that's what dummies do. And she's agrees to me to come see her. So I'm going to drive. I'm going to drive from Florida to go see my daughter, spend a week with my daughter, and deal with her. We're not fighting as much. So as I'm driving to go see as I'm driving to go see Ingrid, I noticed there's a billboard with her on the billboard. It's like a weight loss thing, and she's smiling, and I'm like, oh, that looks like Ingrid. That looks like my girl. But I didn't really think shit. I'm still driving. It's a 7-hour drive. I see another billboard, and I'm like, that's her. She must have got a job, a model or some shit, for some ad agency. Good for her. Good for her. So at least, she ain't trying to get my money or whatever. And I see another one. Then I got her rented a house. She was living in an apartment and we had got to rent a house out there. And I went to that old house. I didn't ask for an address or anything. So I get there, there's nobody there. She's moved out. And I'm like, so yeah, I mean, come all the way out here just to move up and, you know, just to embarrass me. Like I just drove 8 hours and you're not there. And I text you, I'm at the house. Where yeah, she's like, oh, I moved. So, oh, okay, where's the address? Oh, I'm thinking to myself, she must have moved back in the apartment. She couldn't swing the rent. You know?
Yeah.
I get to the neighborhood that she's living in, and it's like all these big old school houses. And I'm like, oh, she must have got with an old white guy. Like she got some guy with money. You know, she let me see my daughter and she wants to brag because I got a house and a car or some shit, whatever the case may be. I get to the thing, I see this giant pillared southern house, huge, right? The car I had helped her get is gone. It's a like gray Suburban of the thing. And I'm like, this is whack. I knock on the door. She's holding my daughter. And she's like, this is my house. And I was like, your house? I'm like, yeah, right. She's like, oh, my little business that I started with like 8 moms. I got 26,000 clients right now. And I've net gross. Like it was like the drug trade. She was flipping food. Like for families, like meal prep is like $300 or $400 a week for meals.
Right.
She's only charging people like $80 for 15 meals a week and like portions and helping people lose weight. No advertising campaign, none, just word of mouth and Facebook. And she's now bigger in literally basically 6 months than Jenny Craig and any other one. Sensible Meals is blowing up into this. And I'm sitting there with my mouth open going, damn that. And she was like, and you said it wouldn't work. And I was wrong as hell. So after that, losing weight, all I got to do is get on my meals whenever I need to cut weight. So
I got to tell you this, we got a lot in common there too. But first of all, you just solved something for me, you know, because my wife and daughters, I call them Franzese fitness freaks. My daughters are personal trainers. My wife's been training since she's 17 years old. They're all
Ingrid's been training about that. It's the same thing.
And they're all trying to get me into the gym all the time. And I always say I could do it anytime I want, but I never get there, it seems, you know. But so maybe I got to sign a contract, you know, and then I'll do it, you know, figure.
Yeah, you got some because they'll.
But I got to, yeah.
Going strong today.
Well, I'd love to connect them at some point because my daughter is into personal training. She's into doing the meal prep and all that. She's got all these degrees. My other daughter was working with grit, you know, cycling, and my wife's been doing both of them for forever.
On her Instagram, or she does. Well, she's a master trainer too. So she started incorporating these workouts with, I tried one and ended up on the Dana Perino show where I maybe look like an ass, but I'm a power lifter, but I'll throw the big weights around, but she incorporates yoga and ballet and stretching stuff. So she's been doing, and it's on her Instagram at Ingrid Rank, but she gets a lot of feedback from other trainers and stuff, but she's always looking for ambassadors and like the company. And it's it's one of those things where it's grown without the commercials and all the extras. She's kept those. You keep the expenses down and you just keep a good quality product going out. That's especially during the pandemic and everything else. People aren't spending a lot of money. You can feed a family for a couple $100 opposed to if you were all going to get on the meals or you're going to diet or you're going to try to where it's like a family couldn't afford it, you know, and a lot of moms who are working, you know, 40 hours a week and they're raising their kids and they only got to pay $80 for their meals, makes a huge difference. And of course, their self-esteem gets built up. They lose the weight. They're more confident, leads to other things. And it's very empowering and stuff like that. And you always get, you know, there's like, oh, you affect my life and you say things, but I actually live with someone who really changes people's lives. I'm like, what I'm doing, you've got people doing all over the corner of the United States, sitting outside our porches, talking shit about the government or whatever. That's what I do. Or I simulate combat, you know, with wrestling or whatever. But what she does with helping people, is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd love to connect my daughter Mikkel with her because she can be an ambassador out here for her. Yeah, that'd be great. All right, so we got that in common also. See that? You know, 2 different lifestyles, but we got a lot in common. Another area Tyrus and I agree on is, you know, how we deal with our kids today. And it's a different world today than it was back when we were growing up, that's for sure. He's got daughters, I have daughters, and, you know, we both have sons, and we kind of deal with them a little bit differently. You know, our sons we can, you know, man up to, but our daughters, you know, oh, daddy, 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 it's kind of hard. And I've never raised my hand to my daughters. My son, you know, I might have given a spanking here and there when they were young. You know, I don't want to get in trouble for that. But, yeah, we kind of agree on how to raise the kids. And, it's amazing. Coming from different backgrounds, different cultures, different ethnicity, but we have the same, thoughts about, a lot of things. And I enjoy hearing from Tyrus on that. So your wife seems to be smarter than you, like my wife is smarter than me, right?
Yeah. More popular, more likable. So the kids listen to her. I'm the bad guy. The only thing I win is when it comes to punishments. It's always referred. Don't you hate that? You always got to be the bad guy.
Yes.
You always refer to I love when I get put on, especially because I got a sense of humor, and all my kids have the same sense of humor, and I let them. I like a good joke, and I like a good comeback. So I kind of, I let my kids be kids sometimes in the car with me, and they'll hear a joke or they'll say something, and I'll laugh about it. And I don't. About cussing and stuff. I think it's funny sometimes if it's used in the right context,
Uh-huh.
And my daughter especially has become really good at the one-liner and the comeback,
Right?
Which doesn't do good at bedtime when her mom's like, "Hey, you need to take your bath." This is, well, I'm not a machine, and I think this shit's funny. But it's she's like, "What did you say to me, young lady?" She's like, "I'm not a machine. Are you going to do something about it?" And I'm like, "Oh,
right.
Yeah, I'm on it." And then she'd be like, "But Dad, you taught me it." And I'm like, "Damn, why do we both have to go down?" That's the only problem I have in my family is ratting. I get ratted out all the time. And then I catch hell. And then I got to be the bad guy. And at the same time, they're like, "But you let me do it." Like, no. I mean, yes, but not in front of your mother. I think I was pretty clear. You don't do that in front of your mother. But everything I try gets caught up. I sneak a order a pizza. Don't tell your mother, and they'll be like, "Oh, we won't tell." And then we sit down at dinner the other day. "Hey, Dad, remember we got that pizza?" Oh, yeah. Pizza. Oh, rats.
I hope she's gonna let you. She's gonna let you have some pizza when you come out by me. You're gonna love that. I guarantee.
I'm allowed to cheat every now and then.
All right.
She stays on me. So.
Well, I got to tell you, in my family, I get mad a lot with the kids because I'm disciplined, but they would rather have me mad at them than my wife mad at them.
Oh yeah, sure. Because you're controllable. You're dad. It'll be over, and you forget about it. You move on. Mom don't forget about it. She'll bring up everything you did that month.
Yeah. It's funny. My wife and daughter are here listening, and they're laughing. They're hysterical. That's exactly how it goes. Exactly.
Yeah, it's over. The punishment's over. Like, come here, take your whooping. You learn, okay, we cool now. All right, we're good. They'll do the same thing. And like, how are you going to let her get away with it? She did this last week. She did this week before. You know what else she did when you were on the road? You know what else she did? She decided to paint the dog's toenails. And I'm like, I'm getting a list of felons. I can't deal with all this all at once, so what do I spank for, but, and then that's the other thing is also the mom saves them, she'll turn the watchdog on them and I'll be like dealing with them. So actually, honey, I think she gets the point. But you told me to, so I'm the villain. I'm the bad guy. The only thing I don't do is put on the evil mustache, but that's the role of the dad.
Yeah, but they're not afraid of your size at all, right? I mean, they don't care about that.
You know what? My daughter makes a lot of jokes now. It's got good to her at 6. She's like, sometimes my friends will be like, "Your dad's big." And she's like, "Yeah, he's a giant. Like he's a freak." I'm like, "What? Are you telling?" She's like, "No, you are." They don't. It's not my size because they've only known that. I'm also their big tree, and they climb all over me, and I can carry them and throw them around. But it's the bass of my voice. Because I also believe, and one of the things you said that was so true is like, you can remember your dad when he whacked you behind the head, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And with me, it's not the actual spanking of my children, because once I do that, they've got through it and they know it's not as horrible as they think. But the idea of the spanking,
right,
from dad, the fear, you try to rule by intimidation. You hope it doesn't actually come to the spanking, but the fear of it is what's more powerful. I'm like, you need a spanking? No, I got it together. No, oh my dear God, if I got a spanking from my dad, look at the size of him. It plays in it until the worst thing happens because spanking your kids ain't easy.
No.
That is not easy. Like, I'll be like, oh.
Yeah.
And then you got, especially my daughters, can't do it. Son, I'm lucky with my son, I can go be like, "I'm disappointed in you." And they're like, "Oh, Dad, I'm sorry. I felt," because it was me, I was like, "Well, I'm disappointed I got caught too. So we both disappointed together. Well, I'll be on my way." And my mom would be like, "Nope, whoop his ass. You can't, he doesn't get it." Where I'm lucky my son gets it. But my daughter, she knows that if she has one tear, but Daddy, I said I was sorry. And it's so hard. I'm like, well, she did say she was sorry, so it's not, I talk a good game, but my stepsons, no problem. Daughters, it's really hard because they know how to push your buttons.
Oh, yeah. No, I never, ever spanked any of my daughters because I just can't do it. And my one son, my oldest one, when he was younger, I spanked him a couple of times because Tyrus, every time we went out to eat, every single time he would drop a soda, he would spill a glass or something, all over the table, all over the floor, all over himself. I couldn't understand it. I said, what is this, like planned? Every time we go out to eat, you drop something. So I spanked him for that. That was it. And my youngest boy, my Michael Jr., this kid, I'm telling you, he drove me crazy for about 10 years. He was just, I don't know what it was. I could not communicate with him. He drove me crazy. He was just wild. He went wild. He did everything that you can imagine. And so we had some tough times, he and I. There was times I wouldn't even talk to him because, one of the things that gets me crazy, Tyrus, I became a very good listener. My father told me, don't open your mouth before you listen and make sure when you respond to something, you know what you're saying. Well, my son, if I was trying to correct him, before I got the words out of my mouth, he was defending himself. And I would say, you don't even know what I'm going to say. I'm your dad. Let me help you. Let me correct you. Couldn't do it. Just, blah, 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 blah. And it used to drive me crazy. So in order not to argue with him, I wouldn't talk to him. Sometimes a week, 2 weeks, we used to drive my wife crazy. She said, how could you ignore your son? I said, because that drives me crazy. And when he's answering me before I have a chance to talk to him, I don't want to get into an argument with him. We had that for about 10 years.
Same attitude. It's like, if you can't hear my words, why am I wasting my time?
Exactly.
And with my stepsons, it's like that a lot. Like, you don't respect yourself, so you damn sure don't respect me. So I got nothing to say to you. And I really want that tension because maybe if they're feeling that uncomfortableness, they'll do something about it.
Yeah.
And that, but then you get the thing where like the whole house is walking on eggshells.
Yeah.
Well, I got to hold them to a higher standard. No one else is going to do it. So you got to be the bad guy, and you want them to feel uncomfortable because what else can you do? I mean, they're past the point. You can't whoop them. You can't ground them. They'll just rebel and run away. It's like and then you're your own worst enemy because you think about yourself and your own stuff and realize that you've done things in your life so your kids didn't have to grow up like you. Right. So of course they're not going to react to what you reacted to because they weren't you. And you made sure that they weren't in that situation anymore. So that's one of the things that I struggle with. So I'd be like, when I was your age, I didn't have nothing, and I figured it out every day. I got kicked out of the house at 8 a.m. and come back when the lights turned on. I don't want to see you until then. Yeah. And if I was thirsty, I had to use the hose. I didn't come to the house being like, juice box. I want to be like, what? Juice box?
All right.
I remember that
too. Juice box. Like, you gotta go outside. The garden hose is right there.
Can you imagine telling your kids today to drink out of the garden hose? We used to do that all the time. Today, forget it. It would be like
It'd be arrested. Child abuse. I get arrested. Be the front page, like Fox News contributor forced child to drink out of hose. Stock market down. Biden will address in 20 minutes on a CNN town hall with your garden hose and your children. Well, it was literally, but here now, like because we got roped in, we got tricked into buying bottled water instead of fixing our water.
That's right. And now we won't even drink out of the faucet, and then we drank out of it. It's amazing. Yeah, it's crazy.
Brush teeth. You're like, I think it's the only time where I'll just, because I'm old school, but there'll be water bottles in the rest of the house, and I'm like, I'm old school, I guess. My grandmother told me you eat a peck of dirt before you die. So, and I didn't even know what a peck was, but I'm assuming that was a lot. So, that's just the way it was. It's a really different time now because my generation, we just started technology. We weren't, we had flip phones, but we didn't have smartphones. And now my younger kids just getting eye contact with my kids on certain days is a miracle because they get on that phone or that iPad, forget about it.
I know. It's, I don't know what this generation is going to look like, even 10 years from now with this, but there's a distance. My kids really don't even like to get on the phone and talk to anybody anymore. Everything is a text.
Yep. It's because in America, unfortunately, due to the success of this country, and we have first world problems. We don't have real problems. Yeah. So it is really, really hard to convince somebody what's important and what's not important. They want it now and they don't want any accountability. No accountability is gone. If something happened, it's somebody else's fault. It's a situation fault. It's not me. It's you. Like we made jokes about being overweight and stuff. Now it's I'm not overweight. You're just under skinny. It's like whatever I am is normalized. And if anyone questions me or challenges me, they're shaming me and they're hating me and they should be attacked. And it's very hard if you don't have any life lessons, scars, bumps, bangs, uncomfortable moments in life. How do you become a functioning adult in the real world? You don't. You fail miserably and you stay at home with your parents where it's safe.
Another thing we agree on is this whole idea of cancel culture that's so pervasive in our society today. And, it really concerns me. It really does. And, you just can't be canceling out our history because we disagree with some of the things that have been said in the past. And I have concerns about that. Our history is our history. Tyrus and I kind of share the same opinion on that. So he'll tell you about that. Let me ask you this. What do you think about cancel culture, Tyrus? What's your view of it?
Here's the deal with cancel culture. It is the most ridiculous myth ever. Twitter, people that attack and trolls on Twitter and active Twitterers or tweeters or whatever you want to call them are 10% of the 10% that are on social media. And the CEOs of these companies that bow down to cancel culture is embarrassing. But here's the deal from a corporate situation. The individual is irrelevant. We'll get rid of them. We'll get the next guy in there. So the cancel, it's just a place for corporations to be, they just bend to the will of, it's not the American people. It's not everyday people. Everyday people work. They don't sit on their Twitter all day. They don't tweet. This morning I had a waffle with an egg on it. They don't like, and for lunch, here's a picture. Like they have shit to do, bills to pay, children to raise. So they're not interested in that stuff. So I think the outrage a lot of times when cancel culture strikes, they think that they're speaking for this great part of America, and they're not. They're speaking for a few horrible people who cannibalize themselves and are walking hypocrites. They literally will want somebody makes a mistake. You're in high school and you make a mistake. And you're 20, so you shouldn't be allowed to play in the National Hockey League because you made a mistake when you were 13 years old. Is that what we're doing? There's not one person that if you go back and look at their adolescence, you could find something to say that they're a horrible person. But I guess you're not allowed to grow and learn and figure things out. It drives me crazy. It's just an easy out not to deal with the problem is this guy. No, it's not. The problem is that you can't handle someone saying something you don't want to hear. And so the only answer you have to make them go away.
Well, let me ask you this. Why do you think it is that these major companies bend to the will of a few people rather than to the will of the masses? Because that's what it seems. They're always bending to the minority view instead of standing up and saying, no, that's not the way it is. I don't get that.
Because the social justice warriors have convinced these corporations that they matter because they yell real loud and they get the camera. Those are who are getting the attention. Those are the ones that get the headlines. They can say anything. And if it fits the agenda of the opposition, they're going to run with it. The other part of it is that for the corporations, it's just easier. I don't have to fight for this guy. I got 100,000 guys that will do what this guy's doing. We'll feed the mob. And then the heat's off us. And now we're heroes. We're not, and the regular people just don't like, if someone wants to ban, someone's going after Chick-fil-A, let's say, and I see it on Twitter. I went to Chick-fil-A and they didn't serve me my fries because I was black. But okay, that'll be my argument, right? I didn't get so I want to ban them for being racist, right? So then someone comes in and they cancel the entire crew is fired, the manager's fired, everyone loses their job. They have to apologize to me and kiss my ass. And come to find out, it never happened. Mm-hmm. I just made it up. Nobody will ever know that I made it up. Right. People's lives who were ruined. Sorry, just move on. Yeah. And so there's no consequences. The only consequence is if the business stands by them, the mob and some celebrities who are virtue hunting and think they can use it to get the heat off their own shit. They run their mouths and everyone acts like it's a bigger deal. And it's blown up into this big thing because the media will cover it and people will tweet about it, but it doesn't represent American people. And we're too busy to jump in and say, hey, no, I'm not buying. I go to Chick-fil-A all the time. I don't have an issue with it. I'm sorry this happened to you. And that's that one situation. That's not all Chick-fil-A, and that's not all people that work at Chick-fil-A. But it's easier to blanket that and get a lot of attention and have geniuses come on TV and tell you how horrible the world is. But of course, buy their book for the full details. We just don't have anything to really be upset about in this country. I mean, in terms of the opportunity is across the board. We all have hurdles. We're all going to have people who don't like the way we look, but they don't have the power in this country. Someone doesn't like you because of the color of your skin. They can't go out on TV and complain about the color. They have to be quiet about it because people will be like, that's not okay. The times have changed tremendously. We always knew work to do. Criminal justice system needs a lot of work, but I would argue it's not just for minorities. It's for everybody who doesn't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to defend themselves across the board. Poor just go to jail. And we don't look at things. And I still think the guy going to jail for a drug crime is pathetic. I still think that mass incarceration they don't need jail. They need rehab.
No, I tell you, I agree with you there. I mean, I did 8 years in prison, and some of the guys in there for minor drug offenses, given a lot of time. The federal system, they give you too much time, no doubt about it, and it is certainly in need of reform. That's a whole nother issue. I could spend 2 hours with you on that. Yeah. Let me ask you a question. Dr. Seuss, canceling his books. Do you really think that most of the people in America give a darn about canceling Dr. Seuss's books? I mean, when I heard that, I got to be honest, I said, where are we going from this point? I mean, this is so ridiculous, in my opinion.
No, and like I said, it's the progressive agenda where they're not looking at when the book was written, not looking at his body of work. And if it was that offensive, if you have to, you change the drawing. You don't cancel him because he was drawing in stereotypes at a certain time. If Dr. Seuss is racist, then everything is racist, and then everything is excused. But if you say something's racist, you get attention.
Yeah.
You're not saying his literature is outdated, because it's not. The lessons I tell anyone, I just read my daughter's Sneetches last night before she went to bed. Mm-hmm. And she learned that at the end, she's like, so it doesn't matter whether you have a star or you don't have a star, we're all the same. I'm like, that's the message of the book. So, and she didn't say, and if they are different than you, take them to a camp immediately. She didn't say that. That wasn't what the lesson was in the Dr. Seuss book. So you can find anything if you want, and you can make it racist. They're going after Shakespeare too. And Shakespeare is about the human condition. It has nothing to do with whatever you want it to do. And if Romeo and Juliet it's a play of the human condition. And unfortunately, it's an honest portrayal. People do stupid shit. Yeah. And people make bad decisions. And that's kind of what the play was about. But you'd actually have to understand and read a Shakespeare play or see a Shakespeare play to have a dog in that race. And it's why people are like, well, I saw this one chapter that said this,
Right.
Let's get rid of it. If you don't like it, don't read it. We're falling into that thing. Back in the 30s, they would take books out in the middle of the square and burn them. That's what they did in Nazi Germany. Mm-hmm. Where they don't take the books out in the public square to burn them now. We just get rid of them on the internet. They don't exist. They're gone. Abe Lincoln's gone because we come to find out that he didn't like black people in the beginning. But he met a gentleman called Frederick Douglass, and he was educated, and he learned, and they started out as enemies and became friends. And then he made the biggest decision that ultimately cost him his life, ending slavery. But if you want to just focus on the bad part of what anybody did, then you miss the whole point of the good part. Like, it's about change. You have to, whenever a story starts out with a guy's miserable and then he learns and educates, that's the story that I want my kids to learn about, that someone was a certain way and was able to change their way of thinking because life brought them to that point. And then by the power of using their brain, opening their minds and hearts a little bit, they learn from themselves. That's the story I want my kids to know about, because my kids might have some closed views on some things. So when you take all that away, we're not able to grow. We're not able to learn. You can't say that the world started with clouds and lollipops and there's free money for everyone and everything's free and everything's going to be great and safe. That's not the real world. It's not what's going on in China. That's not what's going on around the world. And we're really doing a disservice to our kids. We're all becoming very soft. we curl up in a ball and run away to a safe space instead of taking on our challenges.
No, I agree with you, Tyrus. It's the same with the issue of racism. Look, racism existed since the beginning of time. It's going to exist. People see differences in one another, and sometimes they use that in a negative way. But, I don't think it's, what's happening in the progressive movement today, they see racism in everything. Everything is racist, everything. And it's so out of hand.
If you're more offended than I am about what's going on with African Americans in America, I'm kind of like, what are you doing? Like, relax. And you see a lot of people that, and I when you see protests and things like that, I'm all for it. Citizens have a right to protest.
Yes.
But the message gets cloudy real quick. And I think that's where they're missing the point of the real protests. And when I say that is Martin Luther King wasn't violent. And if he saw it, and I would imagine if he was marching and it was all walks of life, all creeds and colors that were marching, if they started to tear up a city, I would imagine that he would pull out of that protest, because it's no longer about a protest for civil rights. It's now about looting and pillaging. And the media, instead of addressing that and saying, hey, listen, we're not about this. That's how you separate yourself. And you allow law enforcement to do their job and get the looters and rioters out of there. And then you reconvene with your protest, because you don't want violence. Violence doesn't help you. It hurts you.
Right.
But we don't want to tell that message. You'd rather it be that the law enforcement was being evil and stopping people instead of putting responsibility where it goes. If I show up to a protest with a baseball bat and protective armor and a helmet, chances are I've already made up my mind that I'm getting ready for doing something. I'm hyping myself up for something. Then I get to go around a bunch of guys with the same thing. Nothing good's going to happen from that.
Yeah, I agree.
My out as well. The cops were coming to get us, so we were getting ready for it. No, you were looking for a fight. You got it. And then
right.
You didn't like the consequences afterwards, because there shouldn't be any consequences. I should be allowed to burn down some poor bastard's life's work, his mom and pop shop, because he was on the same street of something that bad happened in his neighborhood. How the thinking in that is ignorant, and we try to excuse that because it fits our narrative, and that's the problem. That we just need to have media needs to take more responsibility in their actions and less worried about trying to get a book deal.
I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon. I'll be honest with you too. I took a lot of heat from people because I was a Trump supporter. What I try to tell people, I don't try to make a big argument out of it, but what I tell them is this: look, I supported Donald Trump for one reason only. That's because his agenda for America is something that I agreed with. That's it. I agree with his policies. It's not about his personality. I'm not asking him to date my daughter. I'm not inviting him over my house for dinner. But I thought his policies were good for America. And people...
That's why he won the election.
Yeah, there's so much... people they've lost sight of it. They don't understand. I said, we're not voting for a guy for his personality. And I also said this, there's so much divisiveness now in America, and I believe it all starts at the top. Even Donald Trump, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, all of these people that are knocking each other all the time, that trickles down to the bottom. If they would have found some way to be decent with one another, at least publicly, go behind the doors and scream at each other, but at least publicly, we're supposed to be one unified country in a lot of ways. Even though we have different, political opinions, we're supposed to be a unified country. And I believe that all the divisiveness absolutely started at the top. If these people had a different dialogue, a different, relationship with one another publicly, we wouldn't have the issues that we're having now. And even Trump, Trump, the same thing. He had at some point in time, as much as I supported him, Tyrus, he had to calm down the rhetoric, man. It was too much.
And it ultimately cost him his election.
No doubt.
Here's the thing. I agree with you, though. I would just go back a little further. When Barack Obama became president and Mitch McConnell in the Senate decided he was going to be a one-term president, they were going to be obstruction. That set into a chain of events that has affected every president since that time.
I agree.
So Barack Obama became the target. They didn't want to work with him. They didn't want to respect him as president. They didn't believe any conspiracy theory. They give you anything to make him look bad. And so we ended up becoming there was a civil war in the Senate. where all they were trying to do was tear down one side, try to tear down the other. You're trying to take away Barack Obama's from us. Okay, cool. Then when they won the Senate back and they stole, Mitch was like, nope, he doesn't get that. He doesn't get that Supreme Court pick. Once that happened, once Mitch decided that was what was best for him and his agenda, the Democrats then went into, cool, you took our Supreme Court pick, we're going to take you president. So they, from the day that Trump got in, they were already trying to get him out. And he's no angel. He's a shrewd businessman, to put it politely. And there's a lot there to go after if you so wanted to. And you could blow it up to make it a personal thing, because they couldn't win on policy.
Right.
But they could make it a feelings thing, because here's the thing, you can't argue with feelings. It's like religion. You're not gonna, there's a reason why the holy wars were they were, and people still fight to this day over books that have very similar stories. There's a few differences here and there, but that people die over those differences.
Right.
And so it's very hard to, when you make it about, the media pushes feelings, not facts and opinions, it's very easy to cloud up policy, because he's a mean man. He's evil. He doesn't respect women. He's racist. He's all these things. And it's everybody's racist. And you can keep doing it and keep doing it and pushing and pushing. And then, to President Trump's credit, in the beginning, he fought him back and it was entertaining. And then they got smart. You don't fight a fighter. Joe Biden became the guy because everyone likes Joe, and Joe's not going to fight with you. Right. Hillary was a fighter. Hillary could be nasty. Barack Obama, when he ran against her, she was nasty, and she turned a lot of people off, and Democrats, with the things that she was trying to do. There was nothing she wouldn't do to try to be president. And we saw that with Barack Obama. And then, of course, it ended up eventually with President Trump. They're like, we're going to go this way because we just don't believe in you. It had nothing to do with the fact that she was a woman. Just American people she didn't come across to them the way that maybe she should have. But anyways, he gets in and immediately they just go after him. They're trying to it doesn't matter. Impeachment, constant investigations. They're just muddying the water every chance they got. So, and of course, the Republicans also want to get rid of everything Barack Obama did instead of trying to capitalize. So this time you got the Democratic Party saying unity. We're going to bring the country together. And the unity, everyone always wants unity when they don't have the upper hand. And then when they get the upper hand, they always seem to forget about unity. And to prove my point, President Biden's last speech, there was an opportunity there for him to start fixing the wound a little bit. Operation Warp Speed. He could have tipped his hat to the previous administration for getting it going. And then now we have built on their accomplishment. And now we're going forward. So we'd like to thank them for their efforts. And now we are streamlining it. That was a moment that Trump supporters could be like, thank you. You have my attention now. Republicans, okay. So I'm not a racist, evil, baby-eating monger for supporting a president's policies I agreed with. But he didn't do that. He threw shade. So that tells me they have no interest in unity. And of course, every executive order is to take away everything that Trump did. Trump didn't exist. So what's going to happen in the next election? The next Republican gets in, and the cycle will continue. What's the common denominator? Our Senate.
Let me ask you this, Tyrus. People ask me, where do you see the country going? And I have kind of a pessimistic view as to where America is headed. Now, we've had challenges throughout throughout our existence here in America, but I think it's at a point where it's really going in the wrong direction. I fear for my kids 20 years from now what America's going to look like. I really do. What do you feel?
Unfortunately, I agree with you because it's already over.
Yeah.
China won.
Yep.
We're so busy fighting over who spit on the sidewalk. We weren't paying attention to what China was doing.
That's right.
We were busy trying to get rid of President Trump. We weren't paying attention. They bought everything up. Literally bought Africa. They bought America. They bought everything up. And then, lo and behold, they just dropped the biggest navy in the world. And it's 600 ships, which means it's probably more like 1,200.
Right.
And the pandemic and the fact that they were able to basically give the world the middle finger. Mm-hmm. They were, and they made moves, and they're still making moves. They've already got to where they wanted to be. Like they are in the number one spot, and you can argue and say, no, it's America. It's not. the Russias, North Korea, Europe, everyone's ear is on China. And we let it just because we were too busy. And that's what always happens with the Romans and everything else. You look at history, the inner squabblings, the inner fightings and all that stuff is what gives your enemies confidence and makes them bold. And the way this election was handled and the way the division that continues to go on, who would not be emboldened if you're seeing the Olympic? If you saw another crew that was infighting and there was drama going on and they were left forward and you're looking at it like that spot's ours for the taking. They can't even work together.
Yeah.
Why would you wait? Why would you just give them that corner? You're not going to. You're going to take it from them. And you ain't going to fight that hard because you turn them against each other.
That's right. That's what they did. And I'm a Christian, and I believe that this country's turned away from God in a big way. And, look, history proves every powerful nation that's ever been destroyed, they destroyed themselves from within. And America's headed in that direction. And, it's a sad thing. I don't think I'll see it in my lifetime, but like I said, I worry about my kids and grandkids. I mean, what this place is going to look like. It's sad.
Well, the next 10 years will be really telling. Well, we're going to see a lot of things in this thing, whether we're able to rebound, if we're able to make some changes in the House and the Senate, most certainly, because that's where our problem is.
Yeah.
Not who's president. It's really not. It's really not. But we blame everything on the president because that's what we see. But it's that the Senate and the House that has America in a situation right now. That's just.
Well, let's see. Maybe things will get better. Who knows? You got to have faith. But what do you got planned? Anything else coming up? Any changes in life? Anything good?
This Sunday, I'm returning to the ring. I'm wrestling the NWA pay-per-view, so that'll be. Oh,
really?
Yep. So I'm excited about that. And of course, Great Gutfeld show goes 5 days a week, starting April 5th. And so those are the two pressing things that are coming up. So a lot of plotting, a lot of planning, trying to make this thing work.
You in good shape? You ready to get in the ring?
Oh, yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm ready to go.
That's good. And Greg, is he the same guy, off camera as he is on camera?
Yeah, he can't be any other way.
Yeah, he's so witty, that guy, man. I love him. I really do.
Yeah, he's one of the smartest men I've ever known.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great lineup on that show too, man. I got to tell you, they're all of you guys. They're all smart. You all got a different point of view, different perspective, but the delivery is good from every one of you. It's a very entertaining show as far as that, and very informative.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, we love it. All right, so you got a lot of fans out here. I got to tell you that. Keep up the great work. And like I said, when you come out to L.A., I'm going to give you some of the best pizza you ever tasted.
Consider it done. If you can find me a good veal parm, I'm all in.
Oh, listen, I'm surrounded by great cooks, great chefs. My son's a chef. Believe me, you're going to eat good.
Veal parm is my favorite on the planet, so I'm going to hold you to that.
That's good. How about pasta? You like?
All day. I've never been an Italian dish I didn't like.
All right. Well, I'm telling you, you're going to eat but look, I'm from Brooklyn. I know good food. I've eaten all over the world.
Put it this way, I grew up eating my pizza with a fork and knife.
All right. Well, you could do that here, but this is it's a little bit different pizza, but I guarantee, we spent 2 years in Italy and all over because my partner came to me. I know him 40 years, right? We've been in the restaurant business. He comes to me and he says, Mike, we're going to go into the pizza business. So I said, Tony, everybody's into pizza. How are we going to be different than everybody else? He said, give me 2 years and I'll show you. He went to Italy, went all over the country, all over the world, really, and he came back with a pizza that was so good and a system that was just perfect for franchising. So we got 7 stores right now. We're franchising all over the country, but I guarantee you're going to love it. Everybody's been coming and enjoy it. So,
all right, look forward to it, man. I'll hold you to that.
That's a deal. And listen, the best to you. I hope, like I said, when you get out here, give me a call. I'll give you the number and let's get together.
All right. Sounds good, boss.
Yeah, I definitely want to hook your wife up with my daughter. I think that'll be a good relationship.
I'll send my information on the email.
All right, buddy. Sounds good. Have a good rest of your day. All right, man.
Thank you,
you got it. Bye-bye. Okay, so that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed the Tyrus sit down. I certainly did. He's a great personality, great guy to know. And tune in, great gut feel. Watch him. You'll see what I mean about him. You know, no BS, straightforward, love it. And you know, I had told you originally I wasn't going to be doing these Zoom sit downs, but really don't have a choice. People are calling me, they want to sit down, and we just can't wait for the whole, you know, pandemic thing to ease up before I can get people here in the studio. So hope you enjoy it. There are some challenges, you know, in filming these things to make it as appealing to the eye as we possibly can, but I got a great team. They do the best they can with it. We got a lot more coming up. So, you know, tune in, subscribe, please. 500,000. I told you what's going on. The big giveaway. It's coming up soon. MichaelFranzese.com. Community, the crew is growing. I appreciate all of you coming aboard. And, you know, so keep it up. Join in. We got a lot of good stuff happening, a lot of good content that we're creating. So tune in, join the crew, all good things coming up. How do I leave you? Same way all the time, from the bottom of my heart. Be safe, be healthy, God bless, and I will see you next time.